This is Trinidad and Tobago's entire history. 5000 BC, Autoroid First People tribes journey from South America and settle in northeastern Trinidad. 250 BC, Saladoid First People tribes enter Trinidad. 1300 AD, the Mayoid First People, inclusive of Arawak and Carib, settle in on the island, naming it Caribe, land of the hummingbird. 1498 AD, the island of Caribe is visited by Christopher Columbus, who renames it La Isla de la Trinidad, the island of Trinity. 1511 AD, Spanish raiders enslaved First People tribes. 1530 AD, Antonio Cedeno is given permission from the crown to settle Trinidad to discover El Dorado. 1538 AD, Cedeno is allegedly poisoned by a female slave. According to the chronicler Gonzalo de Vio, Cedeno died a very unchristian death, alluding to a sexual affair with the enslaved. 1635 AD, the Dutch settle on Tobago and plant sugarcane. 1647 AD, Tobago is put on sale in England, but buyers are not found. 1672 AD, the English attack the Dutch on Tobago, destroying their settlements and then abandoning the island. 1776 AD, the Dutch re-establish a settlement on Tobago. 1677 AD, Dutch Admiral Binkels defeat the French in Tobago, but the French later returned, destroying the Dutch settlements and then abandoning the island again. 1698 AD, pirates overtake Tobago, but they're suppressed by colonial fleets. Tobago is regained by the Dutch with support of the King of Poland. The British recaptures Tobago. An American squadron tries to capture Tobago, but are driven off. 1797 AD, a British naval expedition led by Sir Ralph Abercrombie captures Trinidad from the Spanish governor Don Jose Maria Cheron. The entire history of Trinidad and Tobago, Part 2. After the British captured Trinidad from Spain in 1797, 10 years later the slave trade is abolished by Britain. In 1816, the Americans came from the southern US to Trinidad as free settlers and are granted land. In 1838, the official end of slavery in Trinidad is said to have taken place. 1845 saw the beginning of East Indian indentureship with the arrival of the Fatal Razak from Calcutta. 1881, the Cambule riots occur in Port of Spain, San Fernando and Princestown by the former enslaved against cultural suppression of Carnival celebrations. Reenactments are still done today around Carnival time. 1898, Tobago went broke and in debt and became a ward of Trinidad. 1902 saw the arrival of the Syrians and Lebanese. 1903, the Red House is destroyed by fire during the water riots. 1917 saw the end of East Indian indentureship. In 1930, Jews fleeing Nazi persecution in Europe arrive in Trinidad. 1937 saw the death of one Charlie King by mob during the labor riots led by Uriah Buzz Butler. He was jailed on Nelson Island. In 1939, Jews in Trinidad were deemed enemy aliens and were rounded up and sent to Nelson Island as well. In 1940, we saw the arrival of Americans establishing military bases in Trinidad during World War II. 1945, Uriah Buzz Butler is released from Nelson Island and the Americans withdraw their bases at the end of the war. In 1958, Trinidad joins the West Indies Federation, and 4 years later, in 1962, leaves it. The same year, Trinidad gains independence from Britain, becoming its own republic. The rest, as they say, is history. Thanks for watching. There's a lot more to cover since TNT gained its independence, but those are stories for their own videos. So follow and stay tuned. Let's celebrate Trinbago history together. 200 years ago in Trinidad, a powerful British governor collides with a young mulatto girl in an international media sensation controversy which still remains relevant today. This is the story of Louisa Calderon and Governor Thomas Picton. The year is 1801. 14-year-old Louisa Calderon, a free-colored, half-black girl of a freed Venezuelan woman, lived with a common-law husband, Pedro Ruiz, a mixed Spaniard. Luis had become paranoid that Louisa had a secret lover, and after £500 had gone missing in his shop, he accused Louisa of theft. Ruiz reported Louisa to British Governor Thomas Picton, who then turned over to Chief Magistrate Ilya Bigorra. After Bigorra failed to get a confession from Louisa after several days, he requested and received written authorization from Picton to torture her into confession. Now you need to understand the kind of man Thomas Picton was. enriching himself in the slave trade, accused of executing without due process at least a dozen slaves, whom were sometimes considered the lucky ones, as he would often torture and mutilate others. He would hunt and resell escaped slaves. His excessive cruelty was notably extreme even for the time period, as with other tyrants such as Christopher Columbus. Back to Louisa. Her torture would be called picketing, later referred to as pictoning. It would involve suspending her left wrist from a rope, while her left foot was tied to her right arm, and her right foot rested on a pointed stake. This image is an eyewitness drawing at the time over 200 years ago in 1806. She would be left like this between 20 minutes to an hour during 2 sessions, and was subsequently jailed for 8 months, with iron chains wrapping her body and threats of the hangman. She confessed and was released. Picton had many political enemies, so it didn't take long before word of Louisa's torment first came to prominence, causing a stir from Trinidad to Britain. Picton was arrested in 1803, and his political opponent William Fullerton took Louisa to Britain to give evidence against the numerous charges Picton faced. Despite being a mixed teenage girl and enjoying countless media slander, such as accusing Louisa of seducing Louise when she was 11 years old, her voice still carried far, and Picton was found guilty in 1806. However, 2 years later, thanks to his allies supporting his legal funds, he was acquitted after a swift retrial, citing that Louisa was old enough to be tortured legally. We don't know what happened to Louisa since. Picton went on to live until June 1815, where he died during the Battle of Waterloo against Napoleon. Trinidad has 7 streets named after Thomas Picton, from Port of Spain to San Juan to Grande. I couldn't find any info on streets named after Louisa Calderon, so let me know if I'm mistaken, and thanks for watching.
Trinidad in 1926.